It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Folks, welcome back to the program. We got the Washington County Justice of the Peace. Patrick Deakins is back with us, a good friend. Patrick, how are you, sir?
Paul, I'm great this morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Last time I had you on, I know we were kind of talking about some local politics, how things are being done in Washington County. Give us an update. How are things going for you?
Oh, they're going pretty good. There's a lot of new faces on that quorum court this session that started in January when we got sworn in, and we really had to hit the ground running. And unfortunately, one of our main deals is we had to really assess, our jail expansion project that might come about. And unfortunately, that involves a big, hefty tax increase for the people of Washington County. So we're trying to delay that and just get more information and make sure that we're on the same page with all the project leaders and stuff like that. So those committee meetings have been pretty well attended and pretty informational, and so that's kind of where we're at with it. Now we have to make a decision on a couple ordinances that have been before our committee for several weeks now, and we'll be doing that in the June meeting.
So you say there's possible tax increases. Tell the rest of the state, where would those taxes, if they do occur, how are they going to collect them?
Well, these would be sales taxes for sales in the county again, so we'll be raising our sales tax up. I'm, of course, very much against that. I haven't seen a reason why we need to do that yet. It would be a pretty drastic increase. So, the numbers that get thrown around are the jail expansion would be $38 million, and then, of course, they want, after the jail's built, they want more money just to operate and maintain that into the future. So what they're talking about is a 0.5 cent sales tax, essentially, that would go on, and then when the construction part's complete, 1/4 cent of that would roll off, and then 1/4 cent would stay on forever to fund it. So, to me, that's the high water mark of taxes. I mean, and we need to make sure. I would like to see us do things more efficiently than that, see government live within its budget, and so that's what we've really been working on, just trying to get to the bottom of that. What I really appreciated is there's been this has opened up a discussion not just fiscally about expanding a jail, but also there's been a lot of citizen comments and some ideas about how do we maintain our jail population or lower our jail population in general. Are there people in there that just can't afford to bail out, and that are just sitting in our jail, using up our resources? There are things that we can do on that end, and then, of course, it always brings up the fact that our reimbursement rate for state prisoners that are held in the county jail has never matched what the actual cost is, so we're trying to see if there's any solutions there or any help that we can get on that end. But as we know, the money comes essentially from the same pot. It's the taxpayer's pocket, no matter who's paying the county or if the county's paying itself. So it's just brought up a lot of issues that we're trying to sort through right now. But I think we're in a good spot. I think we're going to try to I think we need to put this jail expansion idea off and see if we can't come up with some more alternatives.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that the counties are not they're never reimbursed for the actual cost. This has been a long time coming, but I don't see it getting any better, because it seems like at the state level they're looking for revenue. I mean, the state of Arkansas is looking for revenue for the people. We have counties that are looking, not just Washington County. This is happening all over the state, and they seem to believe, Patrick, that or at least their ideas of creative solutions are going to the people for more money. That's not very creative to me, but that seems to be their only answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we run into that, down on this county level, where I think a lot of times the easy answer is just to raise the tax. The hard part is to leverage your dollars that you already have and be right with the people and try to do the best you can with what you already have. And I think that makes a lot of people work harder and think harder, but that's exactly what the people want out of government. That's what they want out of their local governments, even when I'm out talking to people in District 5 out here in Washington County. And so, and I feel it when we sit around that horseshoe during meetings. There's a lot of pressure just to go ahead and pass it. And I hear a lot of people saying, to do these sales taxes, what it would essentially be doing is the quorum court would be passing it out to go on the ballot for an election, and it would go to the people. And I hear a lot of people saying, Well, just pass it out and let the people decide. Just pass it out and let the general public decide. And that's not where my convictions are as a justice, because I can sit there and think, well, the people are trusting me to do the best I can before I ever go to them and ask them for anything, you know. And we all know that the taxpayer well is not infinite. We can't just keep drawing from it like it's, you know what I mean? It's exhaustible, and I think that maybe it's hopefully getting to the point where people are waking up, getting involved, and seeing that this is what's going on at every level of government, that the government just wants more and more and more money, more taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Well, we're talking with Patrick Deakins. He's a Justice of the Peace for Washington County. Speaking at all levels of government, I'm curious, as a JP, were you watching any of the legislation that was passed during this last session in Little Rock?
Yeah, of course. I try to keep up with it as much as I can through your show and things like that. And, you know, overall, I think it's pretty I think it was disappointing when you look at the fact that we're supposed to have conservative Republican supermajorities, you know what I mean, in the House and the Senate, and of course then we also have the executive branch. Sometimes I would think if you could take that out of the equation and then look at the legislation that was passed, would that be somebody's observation if they had to guess? You know what I'm saying? If you took that out, if you had somebody that was not knowledgeable of this and you showed them the legislation that's passed and asked them, what do you think the legislative makeup of Arkansas is? I don't think that they would say. I bet that's Republican supermajorities on both houses, right? So, and we see that in a lot of the lawmakers, unfortunately, that come on your show and give us impressions of the session. That I mean, I don't understand how anybody could argue that we're not going to pay more taxes before this session than after. And I think that's exactly, you know, you're hearing that from a lot of the lawmakers that are admitting, yes, I think that this is going to increase taxes on everyone in Arkansas. And I think that's very, very unfortunate. There was an article, I think it was last week, where it had some of the lawmakers that had signed the no tax, the American Tax Reform, I think, groups, no tax pledge. And just some of those quotes that came out of that I thought were just very, very interesting. And it kind of, like I'm saying, once again, it just disappointed me. You have to be principled when you go down and take any vote at any level of government. If you ask the people to serve them, to me, you have to have your principles aligned before you get in that room, because that's when the pressure turns up, and you have to be on your toes to be answerable back to the people who put you into office. And I think it's important. I mean, those people didn't do that for us. They didn't keep to the principles that got them elected.
Well, you know, it's really good that you mentioned these impression of the sessions. You know, there's, I mean, I've read off some of the DFNA numbers, but I haven't actually done the math. And you know, Conduit News hasn't published an article yet with the numbers, what kind of money we're talking about here, and in terms of revenue increase, tax increases from the people to the government. But to your point, Patrick, all these impressions of the session, all I'm doing is I'm asking essentially the same question. I'm just saying, you know, and they're all saying yes, every one of them. I mean, even you know, to his credit, Senator Terry Rice was on the program the other day. You know, Senator Scott Flippo, Senator Mark Johnson. If you go back and listen to what they're saying, and they voted for some of these you know, tax increases, and yet they're still admitting, they're like, yeah, you know, I mean, like even, and that's what I find. First of all, that's refreshing, because we've got to have an honest assessment of where we are, and that's good. That is a good thing. But at the same time, like you were saying, you know, that's not really in the principles of the Republican Party platform, you know, to keep going back to the people and asking for more money. I mean, we want to keep more of our own money. We want actual tax cuts, which are, you know, going to be less money going to the government. Exactly what you're talking about in Washington County, really. It's just a smaller version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what's really been highlighted to me, is the challenges that Washington County face are challenges that are, you know, at the state level also. And then, like I'm saying, there's a lot of pressure to that. You know, I'm part of the Washington County Republican Committee, and a little bit later in the session, we had passed a resolution and sent it down to our elected representatives and senators saying that we didn't want any tax increases. And the wording in the resolution was pretty simple. You know, we don't want any tax increases, because we had seen some of these bills that were coming up for discussion and that we're going to get votes, and we could see kind of the writing on the wall. This is where it looks like the legislature was going. And later, after the session, we had Senator Pro Tem Jim Hendren come and speak to our group because he wanted to address specifically that resolution that we had sent down there. And the thing that stuck with me about his presentation was, well, you guys said you don't want any tax increases. That's basically his words. That was too simplistic of a statement. It's not that simple. It's more complicated than that. And that just kind of made me laugh in the back of my head because I think the complications have been created on purpose, probably by some of these people who are pushing these tax increases. And, I mean, you talked about that with the representatives and senators, too, about how they don't get maybe a clean bill. It's like, oh, well, we're going to cut taxes here, but we're going to raise them over here. So that's why he was saying, well, it's not that simple. The bill's more complicated than that. And I was saying, well, the people want it simple, and that's the way people understand government. Why can't it be simple? I don't understand why it can't be that way. You know what I mean? So that's what really stuck out to me. And once again, that's what disappoints me about some of the games in politics that get played, and we see it day in and day out at all levels.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, you know, to your point, Patrick, Senator Hendren is in charge of writing much of that legislation. He has a very big amount of input and impact. His opinion matters, and so to your point, if the legislation is not simple or it's more complicated than that, he certainly is the one that's making it complicated. And you know,
just with the mirror, right?
Yeah, and you know, this puts, you know, people in bad positions where you've got the internet sales tax paired with the corporate income tax cut. It's the only way they could get the internet sales tax passed, because it's going to be it changes, you know, things, massive revenue increases. But also when you make it complicated like that, and I'm just going to say this. It is easier to confuse legislators who are not career politicians, who are coming to serve, and there's a certain element of trust that many of these legislators have, especially when they've got, you know, the same letter next to their name, and they're like, well, it takes them a while. Sometimes takes a few sessions to realize, hey, I've been around here a little longer, and I'm not necessarily going to believe everything the leadership's telling me. And I actually think we're seeing that, by the way. I mean, the fact that we're having, you know, this conversation, and there are so many other legislators who are analyzing the results of the session as more money coming from the people going to the government than before, it is a really big development, in my opinion, Patrick, because I think people understand that, you know, there's really no way to spin what they did from an economic freedom standpoint, from a tax standpoint. There's no way to spin it because it's math, you know?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's either plus or minus how much is going to the government. And, you know, I know that your listeners, I think by listening to this show, are pretty, you know, they're pretty involved. And of course, by listening to something like this, they're reaching out trying to get informed. But I would just invite all your listeners to always be communicating with your elected representatives at any level, because I think it definitely makes a difference to get the feedback from the people and to get their ideas and stuff. So, you know, I would never discount any of – I don't want your listeners to discount any of their ideas or their communications that might be valuable for those elected representatives. And to be honest with you, every now and then it's just good to maybe hear an alike opinion. You know, sometimes all you get is the negative against what your position is. So sometimes it really helps out just to have somebody reach out to you and give you kind of a pat on the back, if you will, for standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah. Patrick Deakins, Washington County Justice of the Peace, sir. It's always great to have you on the program. Keep up the good work. Hold the line on no taxes or no new taxes. And, be safe out there, sir.
Thanks, Paul. Until next time.
All righty. It's always great to talk to Patrick. Folks,